Alright everyone, and welcome back to another videos. Today we're doing a what ifs to the many what if series that's gonna come, hopefully.
Yep.
This one is a little bit scuff, since we don't really have any notes. There might be some next time. But yeah. So this is
We can always revisit it.
yeah. But this is a theory that I just kind of like thought of at the moment. I didn't really develop any more on it. It was a what if Rockley had, I guess, somehow gotten his hand on some alcohol at the moment during the Chunin exam, and had drunken it during the fight with Garra. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
My initial thought was the fight itself. Where in the fight does he actually access the alcohol? Let me go ahead and just present you with that question. Like, where in the fight does he actually drink it?
Well, even before that, though, because Rockley himself doesn't know they have the ability, or I guess the technique for
Okay.
it. It's kind of a far-fetched, to be honest, because like you gotta have to like go even before the Chunin exam to where he would have to like get the alcohol from.
Well,
So
but we're not actually.
so hypothetically, like let's say like um I don't know, he somehow like went out to celebrate with Guy and Neji and all of them. I don't know, celebrate him being able to partake in the Chunin exam or whatever. And somehow he managed to got a bottle, fuck, I don't know, sake or something with him
Yeah, Saki by accident.
by accident, and maybe left it in his ninja bags or something. Okay, so the whole forest will still happen the way it is. Maybe he doesn't know he still have the bottle in his ninja bags. Up until the fight with Garra. So I would have to say, like, okay, so the fight still proceed as normal, right?
Okay.
And maybe it still proceed all the way up until after he dropped the weights.
All right.
So at what point would he? At what point? So the problem is, like, at what point would he have access, or somehow gotten the alcohol
I want to.
into his hand?
Okay. So you remember when, after he's taken off the weights, and after he had already penetrated Garra's initial defenses, and then he went for what was that? Is that Flying Lotus? Oh, well, I'm thinking of the
Hidden Lotus or Primary
y-
Lotus?
y- yeah, Hidden Lotus, where he ends up hitting it on Garra, but then it ends up being a sand clone.
Mm,
Was that what that was? You remember that?
was that Leaf Hurricane?
Well,
Uh,
but you do know what I'm talking about, though.
Okay, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like remember when he ends up lifting him off he ends up penetrating his defenses. He ends up lifting him up off the ground, and because of how heavy Gara is, because of his sand and his sand armor and everything like that, he kind of like floats there for a minute and he starts to come down. So Gara starts like he lifts himself off the ground and just starts kicking Gara up into the air, and then he ends up releasing his bandages, wraps him around, spins him, and then he's basically gonna drop him to the ground on his head. But it turned out to be a sand clone, or whatever. And then that's when Gara basically like started to bring the barrage onto him. I think personally, and then then we go into a flashback sequence where Guy basically tells Lee that he's like, though you don't have the talents of other ninjas, you are very special in your own right. And that's when Rock Lee kind of got a second wind, and his speed started to kind of come back a little bit. I think right there is a perfect opportunity for him to go into his bag. I don't know, something comedic. Be like, hey, let me get a drink of water, or let me grab I don't know, some type of punch or whatever, little whatever punch or whatever he has in his bag, and he ends up taking in the sake then. And then after that, I think that's when it should all really start off, to be honest. Because since he's unaware of his drunken style, if you will, I don't think he'll exhaust himself. He won't exhaust himself in the same way as he would if he was just using his speed. Okay. And also, we never really. Go ahead, man.
I mean, okay. So like, I'm watching the fight again right now. So like after he had dropped down, right?
Right.
From using primary lotus.
Lotus.
And 8-gate. Garra's on the ground, but he still managed to move his sand.
Yeah.
Lee is technically by the time after the first attack that he landed on Garra, he basically kind of lost his juice, and he got out of the 8-gates modes, and pretty much he's all exhausted, and Garra just kind of like relentlessly attack him with the sand. So like, at what point though would he like have time to be able to reach into his bag?
Wait a second.
During that onslaught.
Okay, I'm thinking I'm thinking at least one opportunity is when Garra has Lee cornered and Lee's in a cross defense up against the wall. Mm-hmm. I'd say, whoa, my bad. I think that would probably be his best opportunity, because that's the one time Garra one of the few moments I should say that Garra stopped attacking him. And that's when, like I said, this is right around the time when Kakashi basically grills Guy for teaching Lee the gates. And then it's right before they actually get into the explanation of what all the gates do. I think that's probably your best moment right there. I think.
So like during that cross defense, right? That would be before the primary lotus attack.
It was after.
No, it was before.
No,
and that's before he entered the 8-gate as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he should do it before. Well, that's the whole point I'm trying to make. He should go into his drunken style before he even gets into the gates.
Okay, so let's say we go from there instead of the primary lotus. So how would the fight differ afterward?
I guess it depends on how Garra. I don't know how Garra is gonna deal with it, because he doesn't deal well with close range combat. I don't know if.
Well, the thing is though, like Garra, he's mostly more of a range fighter.
Right.
So and Lee during his drunken state, he is more defensive, if you want to say that. So it's kind of like a stalemate at that point, because Lee, during his fight with Kimimaro, you remember that he basically doesn't really attack unless he's like being approached upon.
Right.
So Garra would have
he was kind of like counterpunching him basically.
Yeah, so Garra would have to get close, basically trigger him to attack.
Yeah, but see, Garra wouldn't do that.
Yeah, unless Garra would probably continue to attack from afar, but maybe that set off Lee drunken state somehow, and it automatically like set him his defenses, and he's just dodging the sand. But then he would still more or less be on the defensive unless he somehow decide to go on the offense somehow.
Would it be fair to say that if Lee's defense holds up, right, and his evasion as well as other things, don't you think that'd be enough to frustrate Garra into advancing, to breaking his initial tactic and advancing?
Well, like I said, you gotta think though, like Garra, he have a vast variety of range attack.
True.
That cover like a large AoE effect, AoE. So yeah, like it still put Lee at a disadvantage. Also, plus he doesn't have his 8-gate at the moment, so he lacked the more or less the power behind the attack.
Right. Yeah.
Like he had the technique and maybe the agility of dodging. But again though, even during the drunken state though, he technically really didn't have that much of an agility as well, because watching the Kimimaro fight, like he's still taking on damage from Kimimaro. Although, like, granted, Kimimaro is like a very skilled fighter.
Right. And that we're also talking about not a full strength Kimimaro too. We're talking about when someone's just like willing himself to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's basically dead man walking.
I say like it's tough.
Oh, okay. Is it fair to say then, since we kind of agreed that it would almost be like a stalemate at where we're at right now, is it fair to say that Lee would, if Drunken State was initiated, it would be merely just to have Garra expend more of his chakra, leading into Lee getting into the gates? And if so, that can still continues your theory. It still continues your scenario.
Okay.
So do we look at this as the part of the fight where Garra's chakra starts to get expended a little bit? Now, granted, obviously he has a tail beast,
Yeah.
so that's something all in itself. But essentially, with Garra's growing frustration that he's not able to put Lee down the way he wants, and with Lee being in this drunken state, he's just kind of moving in a almost pseudo ultra instinct type way. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. Could we look at this as just not a win, but I guess just another notch in the belt, if you will, for Lee moving forward before he opens gates? Like,
Okay.
this is just him trying to wear Garra down, I should say.
Okay. I mean, we can go from it because I think eventually the drunken state does
Wear off.
wear off.
Yes.
So let's say it lasts, let's say 30 minutes, right? And he end up going out of the drunken state, and let's say Garra expand a good amount of chakra, chasing after Lee, and Lee end up going into his 8-gate modes, and again does the damage on Garra, maybe a little bit, even a little bit more damage, because of the expand. By the way, your mic is really bad.
Oh, my bad. I'm not up next to it. My bad.
Yeah. And let's say like he
Wait,
does,
my mic, man. It's a good mic.
he does a little bit more damage,
Right.
and maybe he even draw blood from Garra. So instead of Garra activating his Shukaku mode or half Shukaku mode transformation mode during his fight with Sasuke, let's say he end up doing it in this fight, and that just kind of trigger a bunch of other event later that would have happened later on, such as maybe the attack on the sand or something. Or maybe they won't do that because maybe they don't have the manpower ready yet.
Right.
So I don't know, which scenario do you want to go down?
I'd like to go down let's go with the scenario that if that Lee wears his chakra down to the point and frustrates Garra so much mentally that he ends up losing control of his tail beast temporarily, like right then and there. Let's go with that.
I'm saying like which scenario do you want to go down? Do you want to go with the scenario where the sand and the sound ninja would have to start their operation early, which is like
Nah.
during this stage, or you want to like?
Because
It's tough though because their plan basically rely on the whole Sasuke versus Garra thing during the
Well, that's
second
what I'm saying,
stage
like,
of the exam.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not thinking that far. I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm just thinking about the initial fight in front of us because the plot behind it, like I said, that requires Sasuke, and that's in that tight confinement like that. That's like all bets are off at that point. Like they wouldn't be able to do that and even escape, let alone anything else. Not without bringing a whole shitload of fucking, not without starting essentially a pseudo world war, if you will.
Well, I
between
mean,
the
technically
sand and
that's
the leaf
what it
again.
was though. During the attack on the leaf,
Yeah,
that
but
was like a war, like between the sand
was like
and
a-
sound.
Yeah, it was like
They
a covert
killed
op.
they killed the whole Kage. What do you mean?
Hey man, it was like it was
The village
it
was
an op.
the village was attacked by 3 giant snake. They evacuate the children and the women into
it
an
was an
underground tunnel.
It was an op.
No,
It's an op.
it was a war between 2 villages.
I know. I'm joking. Man.
So like say like a lot of things like would have altered if we
Right.
gone with the whole. Well, I guess that would also depend on if whether Gar still win in this fight or not. Which I'm more lean on because he still have a lot of bullshit left So
Right. Right.
okay, so let's say the Sand decide to trust in Garra at that moment and decide to continue with their plan of waiting until Orochimaru and his men is ready with their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Garra would reveal his card pretty early of being a tail beast, but at that point nobody know except for like the Hokage and the Jonins.
Right.
So he have transform, so he have the even more ability. So
Question.
and then, well, what's up?
Oh no, I was gonna say the arena that the Garra and Rock Lee fight initially was in, right?
Yeah.
How far is that particular venue? How far is that from the outside fight, or from the outside venue, or the outside courtyard, where they have that giant wall?
Well,
is that like? Is that in the same facility?
The first stage, no, the first stage is in like the heart of the forest,
Okay.
the forest of death, and the arena stage is like some fuck off area in the Leaf Village.
Okay, touche.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about how are the sound and the sand gonna mobilize, and I mean that's the logistics of that is a nightmare. Given if Garra ends up popping his cork, if you will, before he's supposed to.
Don't mention
But
that here.
Go ahead with your original idea, though.
Don't mention Quark here.
Sorry about that, man. Just-
So yeah, let's say that, and after he used the 8 gates and the primary lotus, Lee is still basically out of juice after he landed. So I feel like he's in even more dire situation than he would have been if Garra hasn't gone berserk.
Because Jesus Christ, I hate saying this because I love Rock Lee. All right, in this scenario, does Rock Lee get killed?
I mean, I still think Guy probably would have gone down and helped, but the damage might have been like more severe to the point where like
Yikes. Yikes.
or I mean like maybe okay, how about this? Maybe before Garra managed to attack Lee, all the Jonin and shit, even probably the Hokage had gone down to stop the Berserk Garra and like maybe seal him up, or not seal him up, but like restrain him.
So what does the sand and sound ninjas do when they see this?
I mean they're gonna have to contain Garra because he's a tail beast going wild, so.
Yeah, but they would have to get him up and out of there too. There's no way the Leaf would let Garra leave out of there.
No, they I mean they would. They know that the Sand Village have the Shukaku. I mean, it was given out by the first Hokage.
That's true, but if I'm one of the like the Jonin in the village, I'm like, yeah, he can't leave.
No,
Like,
I don't think
none of them can.
I don't think the Leaf had jurisdiction like that.
They're in their village.
Yeah. Fuck the Leaf.
They're in their village. Okay, no, don't be wrong. I'm not saying like keeping them as like. I'm not saying that they're prisoners. Like, my bad. I'm coming off over the top with that.
Okay, so let's say the Leaf does end up saying, hey, you can't leave, because he's a danger or whatever. The Sand might end up using that as an excuse to start a war.
Well, we've kind of already established that.
Yeah. So that who knows, that might trigger the war to happen earlier.
So
I guess just not in a more discreet way than it happened in the second stage of the Chunin exam, or the third stage of the Chunin exam.
Third stage, yeah, of the Chunin exam. Now, what is I'm gonna jump ahead just a little bit. So, what is the ramifications if the war breaks out during stage 2 in the long run? Like, do we still have the pursuit teams? Do we even need that now? Does Kabuto use that one jutsu to actually?
Well, it depends on whether like Garra is fleeting. Well, actually no, because if we go with the thing where Garra is restrained, right?
Right.
And he's got taken off of beast mode because of like a sealing technique or some shit. Mm-hmm. Either by like Saritobi, the Hokage, or the sand Chunin to contain Garra.
Right.
So he calmed down. He probably passed out and or some shit, taking a night. At that point though, like the the sand would have declared like hey, you can't keep us here. You know, it's you don't have the power to do that. If you do, shit, I don't know, a war might happen. And let's say the Leaf decide to go all out and be like, yeah, you know what, fuck you guys, start that war, come at me, catch these kunais,
Right.
and war should happen, and fuck, I don't know, Garra will still be contained in there, as well as Tamari and Kanguro and the Sand Ninjas. We still have other Sand Ninjas and Sound Ninjas running around the village.
Right. Because
Right?
they were all
So,
over the place.
Yeah, so it might take a few days, but shit would still start with the maybe like the summoning of the snake and all of that. But maybe the village would be more fortified since they know a war is coming.
So, so if we look at the other side of that coin, would it be best if so let's say same scenario, the Leaf Village goes to the Sand and be like, hey, you're not prisoners, but we can't let him leave yet until, we know this is all squared away. Let's say that the Sand Ninjas are like, all right, cool, we'll go ahead and stay here for a couple days just to salvage the plan. Right, let Garra basically get his energy back up, right, and like get himself mentally under control and shit, and then they just tell Kabuto and they coordinate with the Sand and everybody else and the Sound Ninjas, hey, we're just gonna have to put this off for another day or two until Garra is ready, because the whole plan kind of hinges on him anyway. Right. The Leaf Village just looks at it as, okay, a random occurrence with with one of the containments, one of the beast containments or whatever. No big deal. In a couple of days, they're out of here. We should be all right, because the plot hasn't been uncovered yet anyway. So theoretically, do you feel like the Sand Village could still salvage the coup?
I mean, yeah, they definitely could. It also that's also the matter of like who really won that fight, right?
Right.
So technically, Rock Lee isn't down, and I guess technically Garra isn't down either until after like he got restrained. So that fight would have either been postponed for another day, or they decide both of them pass, which we haven't seen happen.
Yeah. So would it just be considered a tie and that's it?
If it's considered a tie, would both of them lose, or would they both pass on to the next stage?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it's a matter of who.
Also, because that would throw off the matchup number of the third stage.
Okay, so then now we have to go into, does the tournament continue to persist? And since Garra basically is incapacitated because of his situation, do we just let Rock get the pass? Because you're right. Unless, I mean, they don't have they don't have what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have someone to sub in, right? There's only a select number of ninjas that are taking this test.
Right.
So I guess theoretically you have to let Lee continue to go through.
Okay, so let's say like Garra end up losing by default.
Okay.
Of losing control and I guess maybe get disqualified, right?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
So let's say the Sand Village decide to bite that and still proceed with the plan. Now, so it maybe instead of Garra fighting, or not, instead of Garra fighting Sasuke, it would be Lee fighting Sasuke in the third stage. All right, and Garra maybe he's like under surveillance of, let's say, like Leaf Ninjas and Sand Ninjas. I would imagine the Sand Ninja probably like, yeah, we're gonna take we're gonna be the one to watch Garra. You don't need to worry, right?
Yeah, we got this under control.
Yeah. So let's say they do that at one of the rest house where Garra's at. Garra would then still be approached by that fucking Sound Ninja probably, and he'll probably still get murked. Cause Garra probably would have been recovered by then.
Right.
And to proceed with the plan to attack the lead village. So Gar would have to do his little ritual thing at like the room that he's in, with the Sand Ninja watching him, or
which would be ideal.
yeah. So he would have successfully activate the One Tail without a lot of people noticing.
Right.
Probably until after the Sound Ninja had summoned Orochimaru snakes and decided to attack the village, maybe like during one of the matches. And the whole situation still proceed. Kabuto pulling some bullshit, putting everyone to sleep.
Right.
Kakashi dispelling that. So instead of maybe well, actually, I guess the pursuing will still happen, but not technically in the same way.
Well, Garra
would have already fully transformed at that point.
But also, Garra wouldn't be as mentally unstable. Because remember when Sasuke hit him with Chidori,
yeah,
that's when like he broke all up. That wouldn't happen in our scenario.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he will be fully transformed before he like give off his mind to Shukaku. So he would start attacking the village, which would be devastating. And this is before the whole fucking Biju bomb bullshit. So it'll be like giant wind attack. Naruto would still gone to train with Jiraiya. Learning summoning jutsu, blah blah blah. Kakashi. Would Kakashi bitch ass send Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura and the rest of the Genin to go after Garra and the Sand Ninja?
I think well, I don't know if Kakashi would send them, but I know for sure Sasuke would probably end up pursuing. So Naruto's gonna go by proxy, and I think they would all end up going on their own will anyway.
Okay, so let's say they all go, and this time Lee would still be available,
right,
to help. So he would probably gone with their group. They'll probably get stopped by Sand Ninjas and Tamari and Kankuro, and there'll probably be less casualty this time because there's more reliable people, right?
Yeah, there's definitely way more reliable ninjas on board at this point.
Yeah, so they probably got taken care of easily, and they reach Garra in his giant form. Now the only one who have summoning jutsu at that moment would be Naruto, so the fight would still technically proceed as that, but maybe Naruto would have more assist from the other Genins.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a 1v1. It'd be really like Team 7 versus
more like
Garra.
the Genin 11.
Well, Genin 11, yeah.
Yeah. So they would probably try to attack from either below or something, while Naruto transform Gamabunta, is that his name? The big toad?
Yeah.
Is it Gamabunta or Gamakishi? I don't remember.
I don't know which let me think.
But yeah, the boss toad.
The boss toad.
Yeah, so Naruto would still transform him into the Nine Tail to get a grip on Garra. Then Garra would still transfer his mind over, and then Naruto would still have to do that headbutt. So let's say all of that's to proceed, right?
Right.
Now with the whole leaf, would the leaf be more ready for Orochimaru attack? And the sound 4? What do you think?
Well, actually, question. During the situation with Garra, well, the original fight between Garra and Sasuke, that's when Orochimaru ended up facing the third Hokage, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that... or is that what you're asking? Like, how does that scenario even play out now?
Well, like the whole attack on the village, the smoke screen shit, and Orochimaru unveiling himself as, I guess, Orochimaru.
Orochimaru. I feel like Orochimaru doesn't even... I don't even know if it's if I don't know if Orochimaru even does it at that point because he doesn't have any advantages anymore.
Well, I mean, he still technically do. I mean, they still sneak attack.
Yeah,
like the village will still be thrown off by the sudden like attack of the snakes and sound and sand ninjas.
I think they still would have been. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I mean, like also like you gotta take into account like all of a sudden you see like a giant tail beast, like a sand tail beast being summoned along with the snake. I feel like the village would have been more devastated, and that would have thrown a lot of the ninja off. So like I think the whole Hokage being taken hostage would still happen, to where they go on through the rooftop, and the ninja sound 4 would still make that barrier to where nobody can approach.
I think the Ninja Sound 4 is still a play. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you 100%. I just think the attack doesn't. I think the initial attack though doesn't become as. I feel like it's not as effective. Like I understand like the element. Like I get what you're saying that the element of surprise is still there, but I feel like it's not as. I feel like it's not as prevalent. I feel like Orochimaru now has to really be like, okay, what is my like. When he initially had that fight with the third Hokage, it was kind of like, well, how are you going to get the fuck out of there? Like, yeah, you were going to summon the rest of those Hokages, and then you were going to have that fight there. But now that your ace in the hole is essentially being chased off, right? And the plan has kind of fallen apart, at least based off of what Garra was supposed to do. I don't know if Orochimaru would have the confidence to keep going with it.
Bro, it's Orochimaru.
Man, I don't know, man. I mean, it's okay. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. Let's say that Orochimaru does.
So yeah, like I mean, like originally like the battle with Sasuke and Garra like was still going on. It wasn't like it's the main point of the trigger of the attack. It's more of like a Orochimaru just having a hard on for Sasuke, seeing him develop.
Well, that and getting back at the third.
Just seeing him develop, yeah, and
yeah.
The attack would still happen because you remember the reason why the third got taken hostage was because the sudden like explosion of the summoning and the attack on the village.
Right, that's when Orochimaru snatched him up.
Yeah, and then someone killed the ninja that was escorting the Hokage. So I think that would still happen with this time, like with maybe like instead of the snake. I mean, the snake will still be summoned, but
yeah,
maybe like it's like the with the presence of Garra fully transforming and start attacking the village would give Orochimaru that opportunity. So I think the whole like Orochimaru versus the Hokage will still happen. The main point of like Orochimaru attack during that was just to wipe out the village and stuff like that. It might conclude
undermine the third. You mean like he did it to try to humiliate him? No, because he knew he wasn't gonna be able to take the whole village out.
Well, he did it to kill the fucking third Hokage.
Well, but you know what I mean. Like he was there to kill him and try to undermine everything that he built. But clearly, though, it wasn't gonna kill. It wasn't gonna destroy the village. Even if he kills the Hokage, it's not gonna destroy the village. Which we all saw that later on anyway.
Yeah. But like Orochimaru with his ideal or his idea of trying to show the third Hokage that he has surpassed him and shit like that.
Yes.
With his forbidden jutsu, would still happen. So because he still review his what the fuck is that called? The reincarnation shit. With I
feel like though I don't know. I feel like the scenario still plays out different though.
Okay, so how would it play out differently?
Well, like I said, if the fight between Sasuke and Garra doesn't happen, then theoretically Garra's trigger doesn't happen the way it does. Remember, we're saying that he's in the medical wing, and the sand ninjas basically dismiss the leaf, even though not all the leaf would leave, but they dismiss some of the leaf villages and say, "Hey, we'll handle it and whatnot. We've got things under control a little bit." They have Garra go through, the ritual there, and then that's where the attack gets sprung. So, like I said, Garra goes into his transformation. He brings the one tail beast out. The snakes attack From where did that snake attack initially come from, by the way?
Okay, so it was like somewhere in the middle of the I want to say it's the training field.
Okay,
Where they, or one of the forests where they set up a bunch of like summoning circles.
Yeah, and they had those guys out there.
Yeah, and the sand and sound ninja would trigger that and summon like a bunch of giant snakes. So that would be like so with Garra transforming, that would be the trigger signal for them to summoning that stuff and start the attack on different part of the village.
Now here's the question. Since our scenario is different, and Garra's actually going to end up doing his transformation from somewhere in the medical wing. Where does the sand and sound ninjas, where do they summon the snakes now?
I mean,
they could theoretically pick a better location.
I mean, yeah, they could. I mean, they could be more spread out or throughout the village to cover more ground. So
true. Okay, well then that right there adds into it's even more devastating. The attack, I should say, would be even more devastating. Now you still say, so we kind of got that worked out. Then does Orochimaru get to the point where he even needs to summon the past Hokages at that point?
Yeah, of course. Because if he's fighting against their Hokage.
Well, wait, okay. Well, no, no. Let's go with your scenario because you're right. Because if now that I'm getting a better, I'm seeing your scenario a little bit better. I think shit is so off balance. I think there's like so much chaos right now currently going on in the Leaf that I don't know if Orochimaru needs needs those other Hokages at this point. I think, don't get me wrong, he's still going to get the one-on-one with the third like he wants.
Well, I think the point of using the corpse of the past Hokage was him trying to prove his point that he has perfected this forbidden jutsu.
But I don't think he needs. I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's the whole point of him going out there to get at the third in the first place. Whose hate boner? I think his hate boner for the third, or Orochimaru's, I should say.
He got daddy issue. Okay, he got daddy issue.
Okay, daddy issues. Fine, fair enough. I feel like he don't need it. I feel like you don't need it, but all right, fair enough.
Hey, so technically he didn't need it originally anyway, but he it's the flex, all right? It's the casual flex.
I feel it's the flex. So does he beat the third down so bad to the point where then he does his resurrection jutsu, and then he's like, I don't feel the need to even dirty my hands with killing you.
Well, no, I don't think I think that fight would still proceed as is, because with Garra being in his current state and the state of the village, I don't think that affect the third fighting ability. So like that fight would still proceed as is. Like I mean, the third is still old and decrepit, as he was in that state.
Well, damn, well, respect your elders, sir.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I feel like, well, going back to what you were saying earlier, I feel like because the devastation in the village is so bad, and now that I see it, the casualties are probably going to be a whole lot different now, because if we move the snake summoning away from wherever they were initially at and put it closer into central Konoha, for example, you know what I'm saying, and it gives them more surface area to work with to spread that damage out. I feel like the third is going to be at such a disadvantage, and theoretically he may get initially injured, or he may have already expended himself just trying to help evacuate some of the people either out of the arena or just some of the people in the town. I feel like the fight, I'm trying to look at it as the fight doesn't happen where we initially see it, because now the scenario is different.
Well, kind of like he really didn't have any time to evacuate anyone, though. It's like
I'm saying like trying to evacuate, I should say, because there's going to be a lot of frenzy. There's going to be a lot of people running around. They're going to try. Remember, we're not contained in the arena anymore. Like now the situation, like I said, our situation has changed a little bit.
Okay, so like when will he have the time during his hostage?
All right, fair enough. So remember how, like you said, his bodyguard gets murked. That's when Orochimaru ends up.
Can you remember like Orochimaru had his arm around him?
But let's say that scenario doesn't happen now. Let's say it doesn't even go down that way. Let's say that the attack happens, He's like, what's going on? His bodyguard basically escorts him as well as the fake Kage up and out of the arena, being like, okay, we're not really quite sure, but all of you guys, let's just go. We're gonna go ahead and escort all of you guys out to safety.
Okay,
while we
so
find out what's going on.
are we
Then
take-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we taking out the scenario where when the attack happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember, like, there was like a smoke screen right afterward, where the ninja that is escorting Sarutobi got taken out right then and there. So are we like taking that part out completely and have him be okay with?
Well, for right now, I'm cutting that scenario out. So the way I see it is because Garra has activated his started the ritual in like the medical wing somewhere, right? And then the sand, and I'm saying that the summoning of the snakes has happened in a whole different area. Instead of revealing their plan or initiating their plan to get the Hokage right then and there at the arena during what would be the Rock Lee Sasuke fight, I'm saying they don't do that now. Now, instead, the initial attack goes with the snakes. That goes ahead and alerts Garra and the Sand Ninjas, okay, start the ritual so we can get you going. And then we have the Hokage and I'm sorry, I don't know, I can't remember what the name is for the Kage of the Sand Village, which is Orochimaru. They get escorted. Thank you. And they get escorted somewhere else, and that's when Orochimaru actually like snatches him up, reveals what his situation is, and then their fight happens there. So I'm trying to visualize that the fight is in a whole different area now, under a whole different set of scenario, if that makes sense. Because like I said, Garra doesn't go ahead and activate, is not triggered in the arena like the initial, like how it should have been when he fought Sasuke. Now he's in the medical wing. And that's where he starts the ritual. And I'm also saying that the snakes get summoned somewhere else as well. So we need to move the scenario around a little bit to match this what if.
Like technically, like I'm still trying to like go along with like not changing stuff too drastically.
Okay, so you want to where
because like I'm remembering like the Chunin exam fight again between Sasuke and Garra, where the explosion and all that stuff happened at the Hokage booth happened even before like Garra had fully transformed, to where after the explosion the Tamari and Kanguro decide to escort Garra out there and dip. And then Sasuke was distracted, and the referee guy decided to tell Sasuke like, "Hey, go after him." And while all that happened, like the Hokage had already been taken away by Orochimaru.
So what did the snakes attack? The snake summoning, I should say.
Let me see. I want to say the snake summoning happened at the exact instant as the explosion at the Hokage booth.
Because like I said, just by the nature of our scenario here, like I said, like there is no like the pursuit of Garra has to happen in a different way too. Because like I said, remember Garra's is in the medical wing being observed currently. So there really isn't there. We can't even say that hey, go after him and whatnot, because dude's in dude's in the medical wing, and I don't think no one's gonna initially suspect anything outside of the ninjas that are already being observed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, you kind of have to notice if like a giant sand possum show up out of nowhere in the middle of the village.
You got to also keep in mind that most of the sand ninjas have already dispatched some of the leaf ninjas that were at least in their general area, not outside of the medical center, if you will, but at least some of them that were inside, at least the ones on their floor. You know what I'm saying? We gotta think that some of those guys have probably already been dispatched. You're right. Seeing a giant, not a possum, but
yeah, it is a possum.
Is it a possum? It's not a raccoon?
I don't fucking know.
All right. Well, whatever. Seeing a giant sand snake beast running around is going to definitely draw a shitload of attention. Clearly.
I mean, yeah, like, and like I say, like with Garra transforming, it's gotta be
Oh,
the
yeah, no.
trigger for the snake.
Maybe
Or
you're
the
right.
snake
Maybe
summoning.
he is a possum. Yeah, I guess he is kind of. I always thought he was a raccoon.
So yeah, like I'm looking at this now. Okay, so what happened was Sasuke attacked Garra.
Right.
Garra got hurt, and the sand bubble dropped. So let's
Yep.
say it was maybe during the fight with Garra, or the fight with Lee. Kabuto actually triggered his sleeping
Jujutsu?
technique, his genjutsu, a little bit before the smoke screen explosion. As I'm watching this, and everyone falls asleep. The explosion happened, but basically like simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Smoke screen happened, and the third Hokage, basically like doesn't really have a clue what's happening. And then, okay, so yeah, so the explosion, all that stuff happened before. And him getting taken hostage by Orochimaru happened before the snake show up.
Okay.
So, if you want to watch that, I could send it to you. But
All right. So, first off, there definitely needs to be a part 2 of this. Okay, yeah, you're right. It plays out just like how you said, but like I said, our scenario's different though. So, like I said, wouldn't. Okay, so yet again, Gar's in the medical wing. Let's stay with you. Like I said, you want to stay as close to the continuity as possible. So the snake still gets summoned where it was summoned.
so like the technicality of it is,
Wait.
if you so like all this stuff would happen, like the Hokage and all that stuff, get taken hostage would happen then before the snake and Garra.
My bad, man. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So like I'm saying, like all technically all the stuff that happening before the snake and Garra would happen would would technically still stay, with Kabuto putting everyone under sleep.
Right.
The Sound Ninja jump out from the awning to distract all the Leaf Jonin, and while all that happened, the explosion at the Hokage booth and the smoke screen happened, and then Orochimaru would have still grabbed the Hokage, and then the snake and Garra would have happened. So then technically the scenario would still proceed from there.
Except for there's way more destruction to Konoha itself, though.
Yeah, but by that time, like he had like by the time like there's nothing he can do at that moment. Like he has already gone with Orochimaru, and his party probably have already started, and the Sound Ninja would have already covered them in the barriers, and that shit would have gone black and shit like that. So he wouldn't really know exactly what happened on the outside, and he can't really escape even if he wanted to. So like it will still happen, like it had happened. It's just very minute changes. So I still think like so the third Hokage would still die. The same way he'll probably try to seal away Orochimaru's arms. As it was. The Garra and fight with Naruto and Sasuke. Yeah, with Naruto and Sasuke. Except this time there would be more assist from the rest of the Genins.
Garra's brother, in the original, with the original continuity, after Garra lost that fight to Naruto in the out there in the forest, Garra's brother and sister still swooped him up and ran and left with him, right?
Yeah.
See,
At that point,
then that doesn't happen. Then, if that doesn't happen, they don't escape, or at least Garra don't. If in our what if scenario, that doesn't happen now, because now there's more able bodies on hand, and I personally don't see Garra's brother and sister leaving him, but they would have no choice at that point.
I don't think they would, because I still think they would still try to get him. But
Well, yeah, no, I believe they still try to, but I think but I also think though too, they're both smart enough to realize we're not going to be able to get him out of here.
I mean, they at that point they would probably have more assists from the Jonin of the Sand Village. because they gotta get like all the same ninja, they gotta dip, and they're not leaving their ultimate weapon there, at the Lee village. So like their priority is to get Garra out. So like I said, I still think the rest of that stuff would still happen. Except this time, like Lee would be amongst. Because this originally is about Lee entering the drunken state against Garra in the first place. So like I said, like Lee would still be there. He's able-bodied. For the rest of the arc in the future. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, Lee's there. Sasuke's there without nearly as well. Not that he took a lot of damage in that Garra fight, but he did take some.
Would Sasuke then unlock his, or would that then trigger Sasuke curse mark?
Oh, I don't know.
If Sasuke doesn't trigger his curse mark, that could change a lot of stuff.
Well, but he would have to be like, I mean, is he taking on Garra essentially? Okay, so Garra makes their escape.
Because at this point though, he wouldn't really take on Garra at all by himself. Because like originally it was just him versus Garra while Sakura being pinned to the tree. That wouldn't really happen because there would be Lee. I think Shikamaru would have more energy with the assists from the other Genins.
Well, yeah, he has more pieces on the board that he can strategize with. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, what the fuck was Neji doing that whole time?
Neji was.
He was in he was in the rest area the whole time.
Hey man, he had a traumatizing experience. Matter of fact, wouldn't he be? No, because he's in the rest area.
I mean,
Garra
he could.
Wing.
I mean, Lee could probably gone and get Neji and Tenten to come help. So, like I said, then Sasuke wouldn't really have a need or being pushed to trigger the curse seal.
But doesn't realistically Garra wouldn't Team Mighty guy basically confront Garra first in the Sand Ninjas?
I'm kind of assuming like they all like when Kakashi dispatched the Genins to chase after Sasuke and fucking Garra. It will be, yeah, I guess it would be like, it would technically be Sasuke, Lee, Neji, and Tenten. And then, well, basically follow up afterward with Naruto, Sakura, and Shikamaru. So I said they would still have more assists. Oh, and Shino as well.
Wait, was Neji? Okay, we said Neji was in the rest area, so he wasn't watching the Garra Sasuke fight originally, yeah?
No.
Okay, so I feel like if we go with this scenario, Neji, Rock Lee, and Tenten are the ones who are going to confront Garra. Well, they have a better chance of confronting Garra. Well, maybe not.
Well, you gotta remember he wasn't in his like hybrid form. He's at this point he's in like his full transform.
Okay, well that's what I'm saying. So he's gonna end. Well, maybe not Garra directly, but maybe they're gonna end up being the ones that confront some of the Sand Ninja first.
Okay.
So then, so then they go back to Kakashi and Mighty Guy. They explain what they saw, and they.
I think at that point,
they tell that if Garra makes his escape, Sasuke pursues him, and I guess it goes back to what you said, because then Lee, Neji, and Tenten follow up.
Yeah, so Sasuke doesn't really have a need to like push himself to that point where his curse mark basically broke out of the seal. Yeah.
That's an interesting scenario. I should write that down.
Yeah, so that could be for next time for other arcs.
Yeah, that'll be for part 2. Yeah,
Jesus Christ, this is gonna be it's already like an hour.
How long?
It's already been like an hour.
Oh well, yeah. Let's.
So this can be part 1.
Yeah, part 1.
Cause that's like
this was around on the fly, but it was fun though.
Because that's like a lot of stuff that could happen with Lee being like all fine stuff. He would probably like develop his style, not style, but like his fighting prowess even quicker by the time he reached what was it? the Sasuke retrieval arc, if that arc
Right.
still happened. But I'm assuming it's still gonna happen, right?
Yeah, it would still happen. It play out a little differently, but it still happens.
Yeah. So that's a lot of things that could happen with Lee being the winner of that first fight. So
Yeah, like it actually. I mean, I think it alters. Maybe I'm overthinking it on how it alters the timeline, but it does alter it a lot. It does change a lot of things, though.
yeah.
Holy shit!
But,
Yeah. Part two should be fun because now I got a bunch of things
Yeah, I gotta like think about it because I definitely gotta watch a lot of the arcs.
I got to go back and watch some of that.
So,
Holy
yeah.
shit!
But yeah, that will be it for our What If series on what if Rock Lee had entered his drunken state against Garra, part 1. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little I guess basically like back and forth discussion on a series. If you have any suggestion for a series that you want to see like a what if on, definitely let us know in the comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And any last word?
Nah, like I said, thank you guys for coming out. And we'll see you guys for part 2 or whatever comes up next.
Yeah. All right. Have
Later,
a good day.
people.
Peace.
Peace.